Cavecast, the uncensored show for nerds of all kinds.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Cavecast. Again, today is a solo episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the last one. It was actually kind of interesting to see the response that we got from the audience is that a lot of people really did dig it, and everybody that commented on that episode and, you know, took something from it, I appreciate you sticking it out and listening to my story. That meant a lot. However, there were a few people that were pretty leery about it because once you bring in the subject of God, or if you bring in any kind of content like that, people immediately assume, oh no, is this going to be a Christian channel? Is it going to be this? It's, well, number one, I'll make what I want. But in the second hand is that, no, this is not just specifically a Christian channel. This is multiple topics, multiple things. I want to talk to people from all over the place about everything and anything that I can. So I wanted to put some of you guys at rest and let you guys know that don't worry, we don't have to have the God conversation. You can choose to have that conversation if you want to. You can watch that episode as well as our other episodes on faith. We have talked about it, everything from our testimonies to our faith deconstruction and to where we are now. So, but this week, I wanted to do something a little different, and I wanted to dive into some questions and really kind of face some music stuff that you guys have probably been curious about from my perspective. Is that, whether it's, my thoughts on certain topics or different things to that effect. I always try to stay away from favorites. I don't like favorite questions because I think that it's shallow. It's kind of like that thing of what's your favorite album? This is why, move on. It's hard to bunny trail on those things, even though I know that I can, but I like questions that are thought-provoking. I like questions that make me stop and think for a little bit. So that's essentially what's going to be happening this week. Is I put out a bunch of different, not a bunch of different, there's no editing here, but I put out 3 different posts that talked about, hey guys, give me your music-related questions, no reaction requests, because that's not what that's about. And then also, no favorites, get creative. So I'm excited to see what you guys have to say, and I think that you're going to enjoy this too. But obviously, before we get too deep into the episode, if you want to support what we're doing here, you can become a member for 99 cents on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on RSS, just so you guys are aware that you will get extra content. You get the show before the show, which can be anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes, maybe a little longer. But you also get your name at the end of every episode. So keep that in mind. Either way, we're happy you're here. Thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and start strong. So our buddy Ron from Thunder Rooster, if you guys have not subscribed to him, make sure you do. Him and his buddy Paul, I've had the pleasure of working with both of them. They are just fantastic people. Make sure you go give them some love. Paul actually listened to Emergence by Sleep Token for the first time. And I got to say, that was definitely a ride. I envy people that get to experience that, for the first time again, so not the first time again, but it's cool to see. But Ron asks, I'm not a Riker roadie, I'm more of a Riker tech, and he's right. But my question would be, what is your biggest goal for this year, for the reaction channel, for the podcast channel, and for yourself? Honestly, when it comes to those specific channels, is that for the reaction channel, I really don't have much of a vision. It's just make it happen every week. There's not a lot of creativity that goes into that. It's why reacting is my least favorite thing to do on YouTube. I see it as a bloated market. I think that people think that they can make money easily, trying to become the next No Life Shack and different things. So it's one of those that there's a misconception about the reaction culture and what it's really like to grind and to make things happen. I would say that probably it's just one of those where it's no, just keep doing what we're doing. As far as Riker is concerned, I really don't have anything big as far as that's concerned. We've tried a multitude of different things, and we're going to keep trying different stuff. But we're also kind of at a crossroads that I, more times than not, throw my hands in the air because I don't know what to do. It's interesting. We're trying some stuff that we've not had luck with before that we're definitely going to throw in. But other than that, it's just doing the channel. It's just, the Riker is very much just something that functions every week that we know for a fact that we can make happen. So no big, big revelations there. For the podcast channel and for myself, truthfully, it's just keeping this podcast alive. It's, making sure that the people that are supporting us are getting what they deserve, as far as, even if it is just 99 cents, it's the fact that it's like, no, you guys are giving us your hard-earned cash and you deserve the best. You deserve what we can give you, and it's, even like with other like episodes, as far as like me talking to people, I'm excited to talk to Eric again. I'm excited to especially dive into his Mansfield reformatory experience. I think that would be really cool to see what it's like for a skeptic like him. Well, not really skeptic, but we've talked about it, where he's not as susceptible, to paranormal things. He doesn't find paranormal movies, scary. They're a big snooze fest for him. So going to a legit place like that, after his vlog comes out on the detour of what that night was like, I want to, definitely dive in with him and talk about that. I'm also very eager to get some of my friends back on. TJ is just one of those guys that I never know what he's going to say. I never know what direction that his mind is going to go. And he's such a unique individual, and he has such great charisma and stories about things, and getting to to truthfully like dive deep with him is something that I'm very excited to do. I want to also have Hobbit back on. I got to be on one of his Twitch streams a little while back, and that was just nothing but fun. But just build up the podcast. I mean, truthfully, it's like being able to do solo episodes like this, whether it's also having conversations with people. It's, man, like I've worked really hard to make this podcast channel what it is, and it's been put on the back burner so much, because of life or because of depression or because of, other priorities with making content and, and different things. But I really, really want to make this channel, something that people can look forward to every week, not just, a few, week spurts here and then we're dark for 6 months. That's always been the one thing that's really irked me. I find that when the Cavecast is moving and when I'm posting fresh content, that I'm a lot happier. I feel that I'm fulfilling something, that, from doing stuff in the basement with Eric, on GoPros that overheated, to now having a designated room for this show. It's mind bending. It's really cool, and I'm very hungry and ready for this to, really take off in the proper way. Whether or not that's 100 people every time or if that's, 12,000 people every time, I really don't care. I am just in the mindset of make the show happen no matter what. For me personally, I'm sharing my music with everybody. I'm doing that over on the Detour. Every Sunday, I'm dropping new tracks and different things that have, inspired me or that I've been excited about. And it's something that I don't necessarily want to, become a musician, or tour or anything. I'm not built for that. I don't want to be in a band per se. I don't want to, have record labels and all those things. I just want to make good tunes. I want to get together with my friends, make music. I want to make tons of stuff on my own. A lot of what I make is therapeutic. It's, my time to medicate and to, stop for the day and put my efforts and my emotions into something that I can make sounds, and genuinely find kind of my own way with stuff. Like I just recently learned how to start sampling, like taking, whether it's a cough, sound effect and making an instrument out of it on the MIDI board or something, but it's just an adventure, so besides that, obviously, I'll keep doing Campfire. That's pretty much whenever I've got time. But I've got a really good roadmap for things right now, and I am very excited to see where it takes me. So, as always, I appreciate your question, bud. That's awesome. Let's see. Kristen Bollard wants to know, what's a genre or artist you personally enjoy but doesn't get much traction on the channel or wouldn't fit the channel vibes? Man, I'll be honest, there's too much to list. That's one of the things that is really defeating about reacting, is that I can only speak for what Eric and I go through, and it's the fact that, we we take music seriously. Like some people think that we fake it. Some people think that no one could ever be, that excited about music, or that, we're doing it for the views, or we're doing it for this. And you should, like, people that think that way, you should just, take a step back in time and watch us when we were kids. Like, we love music. We love what drums and bass and guitars and synths and voices and harmonies and, just all these wonderful elements and emotion, spirituality, transcending, genres, like all these different things that go into it. It's exciting. So to pick one, I think is kind of difficult. I really, really wanted Whit Lowry to work. I thought that Whit Lowry was going to be our next NF, because we went as hard into NF as we possibly could. We did all of his, updated stuff. And I know some people are probably going to be on here and say, oh, you should do his old stuff. That ship has kind of sailed until he releases something new, because again, we're at the mercy of the algorithm. And I know people have a big problem with that, but it is what it is. Like, I've seen many people that they're like, oh, it's like, fuck the algorithm, just do whatever you want. This is your channel, man. You can be successful. And that's a lot like saying, oh, dude, why do you need all that blood in your body? Just put H2O and any kind of like alcohol in your veins, like pure alcohol. You'll be just fine. You don't need that blood. So it's just, it's nonsense when I see the way that people perceive what it is. Like we fight tooth and nail to get videos done every week as it is, like with its like, with the process of choosing things and trying our damnedest to give you guys what we want, or what you guys want, and what, we hope that you guys will enjoy. But it's unfortunate. We are just at the mercy of whatever YouTube decides. I'm a firm believer that I think YouTube is trying to phase out reactors, because they're tired of having to obey federal law, because it is written into federal law that you can, talk about content, that there is fair use, that there is the ability for, to have a show that is around that. It's why we have our graphic every time that we do a new artist, or we do stuff that we know we get nailed by copyrights, is that we have copyright claims are bullshit, because they are. When it comes to reacting, they 110% are. If you're re-uploading content, that's when you have a different story. But long roundabout way, Whit Lowry, that's probably right about where I would be. As far as like thinking about stuff, is like with different things that we have done before. We tried reacting to Polyphia at one point. Rather, Eric, I had him react to Iconic, and this was, oh my gosh, this was like near the beginning of the channel. We didn't even post the reaction. We don't even have it anymore, so because it was just not a situation where, where we felt good about the product that we made. It was like, man, this just didn't fit well. This didn't seem right. We need to break down lyrics. We're not an instrumental reaction channel, but if we were, we would jump on it. We would do Polyphia, Animals as Leaders, Intervals, Steve Vai, all those different things. But we're here to break down lyrics. We're here to, dive into emotions. So, but anyway, moving on. Hannah King says, my boyfriend always bullied me for listening to metal. Do you think it's toxic for your significant other to judge your music taste? Here's the thing. It's toxic for your significant other to make fun of you in general. And it's very much like, kind of like this, is that I remember being younger, and our younger brother, Devin, who, there's a significant age gap between me, Eric, and him. And he talked about how there were some people at his school that were making fun of him for A, B, and C. And I remember telling him, we were in the drive-through at a restaurant that's in a nearby town. And I remember specifically where this happened was that I said, look, dude, I'm like, those people you don't need to waste your time with. I'm like, it's not the fact that they're saying this, this, and this. It's the fact that they're giving you shit. They got nothing better to do. And, it's one thing in a relationship to poke fun or to have things that you joke about. But music, again, to me is very personal. It's very, important to your mental health and to your development and to, seeing how you fit in the world and making you feel relevant and that you matter, especially with metal. Not saying that metal is the best genre on the planet. I am a metalhead, but the thing is that there's a love and care that metalheads have for each other that no other genre does. So for anyone to bully you or to give you shit about something that you love, frankly, fuck those people. It's not worth it. It's not worth dealing with, abuse from somebody, even if it's just minor or major, no matter what it is. Someone that's supposed to love you won't even go near that. You know what I mean? I stand by, again, what Corey Taylor has said is that when he opened up his iPod and he was on whatever radio station and they saw Justin Timberlake and they saw all these different artists on his iPod, he said something really wonderful, is that he said, yeah, he's like, I love JT. He's like, I love, Michael Jackson. I love, all these different bands. And he said, I'm a firm believer in the fact that there is no such thing as a guilty pleasure. If you dig it, dig what you dig. That's all that matters. This is your life. You get one shot on this planet. Do not let anybody discredit you from enjoying the art that makes you feel better and that genuinely makes a difference in your psyche. Let's see, we got Jeffafa. Let's see. I always love that he spells his name Jefe. So Jeffafa. Who was the first rock group that you got into? Oh boy, people are going to be angry. So the very first CD I ever got my hands on, when I would listen to it in my Walkman or my portable CD player, always took it with me on the bus. Bus rides were a big deal. That was how I made it to school, as I listened to this, whatever was in my ears, right? But Nickelback Silver Side Up, that was the first rock album that I ever owned. And people can shit on Nickelback all that they want, and it's okay to be wrong. But the thing is that there was something about Silver Side Up that, at that time, I had not been exposed to anything like that. I had listened to Journey. I had listened to Bon Jovi and, the Def Leppard and all these bands, these wonderful bands, Queen, that I grew up listening to because of my parents and, my aunts and uncles and friends. But there was just something very, very different about listening to Nickelback, especially because it was an album that didn't have a parental advisory sticker on it, but there were still swear words on it. And I felt like such a badass. I felt like I was, breaking so many rules, I'm going to fix this. That was genuinely probably my first time that I ever felt a true sense of independence, but nevertheless, Silver Side Up, that's really what started me on my rock journey, or at least owning CDs that, lasted the test of time. But yeah, first rock group was Nickelback, and people can shit on them, but dude, they're the reason why I got good at guitar. They're the reason why I practiced so much, was because that riff from the song That's Someone That You're With, that was a challenging riff that I couldn't get for the longest time. And I'm sorry, Chad Kroeger wrote it, and he's good at writing songs. He's an asshole, but he's good at writing songs. So that's about where I take that. So let's see here. See, Chloe wants to know, if you could be in your own rock or metal band, what would your story and ideas be? There's a couple of joke answers that I can give you. There's the whole Mitch Hedberg, we were in a, deathcore metal band that was, a cappella, we were an a cappella deathcore band, and that's what I would do. But I actually wanted to do something a while ago, and it's something that I could, easily do. It wouldn't even be rock or metal, to be honest. I'd rather just produce that, or produce bands and stuff in that kind of aspect, or friends, with doing things. Because I'm not very good at writing metal. As much as I am a metalhead, the relationship between drums and bass and guitars is just so different than rock. It's a lot easier to write rock songs than it is metal songs. But I would want to be in a Christian cover band and call it Covered. That was actually an idea that Mom had a long time ago, was that you're covered by the blood of Christ, so it's covered, you do covers and you're covered. So I know it's kind of a lame answer, but if I had to choose anything, that's what I would do. But ultimately, like I said, I don't want to be in a band. It's too much work. It's too much time away from home. I've got my girl. I got my, my kitties. I've got my YouTube channels and everything. I can't afford to leave the state or do anything like that to truly start a band. I kind of was on a journey of that a long time ago and was very resistant against the idea even then. And I didn't even have the good things I have now. So let's see here. JJ Vile says, says, if you were given the choice for Sleep Token to re-record 1 to 3 older songs pre-Eden with their current style and production, which would you choose? Ooh, Nazareth. Nazareth, 100%. That's a given. There's just something haunting about Nazareth that if we were to have RCA level Sleep Token, oh my God, like that would be so much fun. There's also something to be said about Jericho. That one has so many twists and turns in it, like, pretty much any Sleep Token song. But in the same hand is that, no, like there's that really awesome breakdown that happens, and there is something good about the fuzz and the kind of the analog, like old digitized kind of like thing that you can see that Vessel was doing then, that kind of gives it its charm. But in the same hand, I don't know. I think that getting to hear a crisp version of that would be really, really cool. So who knows? Well, I mean, we'll see. But maybe they will do a remastered thing one day. So you never know. Let's see here. So Blood Rain says, countries that have great songs, but when you translate to English lyrics, they are not what you want. I'm sorry. I'll read that one more time. Countries that have great songs, but when you translate to English lyrics, they are not want you though. Not what you want. Would you still dance or listen to the song? I'm assuming you're asking, man, that was really hard to read. I thought I had that. But no, it's basically that the lyrics don't hit proper, and it's like, does that matter? To me, songs can be lyrically driven. They also can be instrumentally driven, even if there are lyrics. I remember Rick Beato saying in one of the interviews that he did with like Tim Henson and Misha and Tosin Abasi was that he basically said, look, there are some albums I listen to for the sounds, not the songs. And that's true. Like there are some albums that you take in and you're like, man, like I really just love the vocals on this. I really just love the drums on this. It's, you have people that, love Saint Anger's drum sounds. You have people that, can't get enough of Styx, Mr. Roboto, or, however you want to do it. But to me, lyrics can sometimes be secondary. And if you think that that's not correct, honestly, listen to the original version of 99 Red Balloons, then listen to the English version and know that the original is the superior version, because we don't care what she's singing about. We just want to hear the groove and the feel of it, So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. So, your mom's bed partner. God, every time I see you post Dean stuff, it's just wild. So thank you for being here. This is a good one. You can only bring back one singer who died. Who would you bring back? And I think that the easy answer is Freddie Mercury. And it's not just because Queen is legendary. It's not just because of Live Aid. It's not just because, man, like he was taken from us too soon, whether or not it was on his own, doing or not. I just want to know what he would be making now, with like, it's this thing that, especially like Glenn Fricker from SMG Studios, is that when he said, dude, he's like, when's the last time that we got something as epic as Bohemian Rhapsody? When's the last time that we got something that was as iconic as, Breaking the Law, or like, these other bands and like artists and stuff that we've, come to know as legends? And with Freddie, there's something so special about that man. Like, it's when you see interviews of him and how much charisma he has, and how how much he was not bothered even by his illness. He, you can see him in the last video shoot he ever did, where he's got a lot of makeup on and you can tell he's very, very sick. But after the camera cuts, he's watching the playback and he's like, I did too many moves. He's like, I think I moved too much. He's like, I want to try it again. up until the end, he was a perfectionist and he cared. And, I agree with the testament of what Mom said on our reaction to Last Resort, the cover that Ronnie did, is that I fully believe that Freddie Mercury would not only be a fan musically of Ronnie, but I think that there are plenty of other bands that I would love to pick his brain about and want to know what he thinks about music now, because he was just so special. He's like Chester Bennington. He's like Chris Cornell. He's like, Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's just a part of the group of artists that we've gotten to see their entire life unfold, before us. And, tragedy is, it does make things, more unique and special. But man, getting to see Freddie, really attack things now would be really, really awesome. So Alejandro, he wants to know, how much in which ways did Sleep Token change the way you perceive, interpret, produce, and write music? I love this question. This is such an awesome question. Thank you, Alejandro. I hope I'm saying that right. It's actually Alejandro Lairs Music. So if he's got music, go support him. So the thing to remember is that Sleep Token is just, Vessel more specifically is a titan in his own right. And I stand by the mentality that I've said before whenever we've reacted to his stuff, is that he writes lyrics that sound like they've always been written, that, since the beginning of time, that this is like, nope, like this is how this is. Like, I dangle in like cold cuts. Like, it's like that, like that's such an iconic phrase amongst the thousands of other phrases that he has, said and uttered, and the way he's made things relatable. So lyrically, it's made me very challenged, in certain ways when I think of, either writing, different ideas down or different lyrics or things that are important to me, is that I think to myself, man, will anybody ever be able to portray hurt, pain, reality, depression, narcissism? It's like, man, like lyrically, he funnels from a reality that I truly believe is not of this world, and it's like, it's something that is like, you can say it's synchronicity or you can say it's, one thing or another, but regardless, it's special. It's absolutely special. So it challenges me lyrically or Sleep Token does. They challenge me lyrically. I also have done this thing whenever they drop something new, is, for fellow music producers or, amateur music producers like myself, I've done this thing called FIO, and it's called basically Figure It Out. Is that when a new song drops, I try my best to figure out all the chords, get the tempo, get, the time signatures, the key, all those different things, and see if I can truly recreate the song, at least with the chords. I did it with Caramel. I did it with Damocles. I think I want to say Fall For Me I figured out at one point, but FIO, Figure It Out. And what I learned from that is that the chorus for Caramel, if it's the right one I'm thinking of, regardless, the same principle applies, so use your imagination if I get this wrong, but the choruses have the same melody, right? Like throughout the song, is that, it's like you have chorus 1, 2, 3, however it goes. And what's nuts is that the melody stays the same, but the chords change. That is mind-boggling. I cannot explain to you what it was like to be in my studio. It was super late at night. I remember it was when I went to Rally, the one big event that I do every year for my day job. I had just come off a full week of work, being in Florida. I came back rushing home to be able to react to Caramel because it had dropped while I was gone. And my sleep schedule was all messed up. So about 1 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I just booted up my computer and I started to get to work. And I wanted to know, could I figure out Caramel? And is it perfect? Absolutely not. But to play around with things and understand that, man, music just isn't what I thought it was. It's discovering the way that people interpret it and how they truly think to themselves, you know what, I want to, I want to create something unique. I want to create something different, because there's so many things that have been compartmentalized. There's been so many things that, so many artists and bands that, many people have said this, but it's like, oh, you're a deathcore band. Let me guess, your favorite, bands are deathcore. And there's nothing really wrong with that, but it's not new. I've heard Glenn Fricker from SMG Studios say it many times, where he said, look, Ozzy was a big Beatles fan. Or like Rob Zombie said it, where he's like, yeah, some of the bands that I, have, become friends with, is that their favorite band was ZZ Top. So they just sped up ZZ Top riffs really fast. And that's how they got this particular sound. There's very little innovation, happening now. And when you see bands like Sleep Token, that they're doing the genre bending thing and they're essentially going into everything with no fear, it kind of gives me hope in another way, where I'm like, wow, like, okay, like if Vessel can drop into a rap beat and do this, this, and this, then me doing a guitar solo over this, and this is actually like, it's not that bad of an idea. But it's to answer your question, I guess in a more simple form, is that they've challenged me in every way, and it's made me understand that Vessel is just worthy of all the respect that he has, and that he should have for the rest of his life, because he's done something incredible, as well as the rest of the band too, and everybody that's involved creatively, and RCA Records, especially too, like RCA could have neutered them a lot. They could have done, some really terrible things to that band, but I think that they were smart and they knew that, nope, let Sleep Token be who they are. And it's just, people can be divisive on even an Arcadia, but my God, like it's heaven. It literally sounds like heaven has come to life. And it's just, there's unlike anything like that in the world. So I hope that answers your question. And then ending here with KK, the Sleep Token Junkie, for the final question is, if you could pick one Polyphia song to learn and be incredible at, which one would it be? Oh, just one. Man, I did start to learn a few, and unfortunately life just happened, so I wasn't able to continue on. But Neurotica, that has probably my favorite solo from Scotty that he's ever done in that band. And people focus a lot on Tim Henson, and for good reason, is that he's a prodigy. Like, especially when that he was, he played violin, and, he saw his dad take out a guitar and he was like, well, what's that? He's like, I want to play that instead, and being grounded for however long. And then that meant that he just played his guitar. He just stayed inside, Tim is incredible. I've joked before that I think that he's an android, that maybe he's not real, but because it's like, oh my God, like how does any person have this ability? But people sometimes forget about Scotty, and it's the fact that it's like, dude, like Scott, like genuinely does things on a guitar that I did not know that you could do. The sliding kind of mentality that he does in Reverie, the incredible ending of, Neurotica, in him talking about the covers that he's seen of people do it. And he said, look, he's like, I'm going to say this right now. He said that ending part is not easy. And he has said, it's like, it's impressive to see people that take that and they genuinely learn something that, that was written from these minds of psychopaths in the best way. Like, I've always wondered how people that write guitar music, how they are able to keep everything organized, but nevertheless, they do it and it's great. And Neurotica, that would definitely have to be the one song that I would learn top to bottom. And frankly, maybe I'd never have to play anything ever again. It's kind of like, like, oh, hey, yeah, I nailed it. Only doing the one. So, but guys, this was a lot of fun looking through all your questions and seeing, the creative people that we've been so fortunate to gain in our audience and the people that love what we do, no matter what it is that we're doing. So as a reminder, guys, if you want to support the channel, 99 cents, you become a member, you get the show before the show and your name at the end of every episode, like you will see scroll at the end of this one. But until then, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for giving us your time and just allowing us to, just talk to you and to listen to us, and whether it's solo or if it's with someone else. We can't thank you enough for being here. We can't thank you enough for supporting us, whether it is by like or comment or anything else. Your time and your just everything you are, we appreciate. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. We will see you guys next week. Adios.